From our newsroom in Chicago, this is Channel 2 News with Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, and the Channel 2 News team.
Good evening. Bill is on special assignment tonight. He'll be back tomorrow. After the gangster Sam Giancana was murdered last Thursday, authorities revealed that a federal grand jury had threatened to indict him for perjury. Now, investigators reportedly believe that Giancana demanded the crime syndicate get the Justice Department off his back. And according to this thinking, Giancana's mood convinced his mobster associates that he just might spill the beans to avoid a prison term. So they ordered him killed. Private funeral services for Sam Giancana were held today, and John Drummond was there.
Although friends and relatives of the slain gangster were on hand to pay their last respects, outfit bigwigs were conspicuous by their absence at the services held at the Montclair Funeral Home on the city's northwest side. Apparently, syndicate majordomos had passed the word to their soldiers to stay away. There had been reports that Phyllis McGuire, of McGuire Sisters fame, had flown to Chicago for the rites. But if Phyllis, a one-time companion of Giancana, was at the funeral, she was not seen by any reporters or police intelligence personnel. The funeral attracted a crowd of onlookers and curiosity seekers who milled around outside the parlors. Some spectators even managed to climb on top of nearby roofs to get a better view. After a 30-minute service in which newsmen were barred from attending, Giancana's body was placed in a hearse for the trip to the cemetery. More than 100 mourners, including Giancana's 3 daughters, joined the cortege as it wended its way through suburban Oak Park. The cortege made a farewell pass by Giancana's home at 1147 South Winona in the suburb, where the mobster was slain Thursday night. A brief chapel service was held at the Queen of Heaven Cemetery, and it was there that Channel 2 News spotted Songbird Keely Smith, a popular Las Vegas entertainer, among the mourners. Following services in the chapel, several mourners lashed out verbally at the crowd of reporters and photographers.
Get out! You've done enough to him.
Giancana was to be buried next to his wife Angeline in the family mausoleum in Mount Carmel Cemetery. Ironically, the cemetery contains the remains of Giancana's one-time boss, Al Capone. John Drummond, Channel 2 News.
Al Capone's wheelman, a man who'd been suspected of and sometimes charged with murder, assault, bombing, vagrancy, and larceny, a man who for much of his life had an army of pimps, prostitutes, hitmen, gamblers, and pushers. But the man who was born Girolamo Giangano and who was known to the world as Momo Sam Giancana had mourners in abundance. For the most part, a sea of anonymous faces, family, friends, but also singer Keely Smith, a reminder of his preference for show business types in his later years. There were handkerchiefs, not so much for sponging tears as for hiding faces that otherwise would be photographed. And there was a crew of young toughs, barely out of their teens, whose job appeared to be making sure the press kept its distance from those who cared enough to pay their last respects. But above all, there was hostility to the media that had publicized Giancana as one of organized crime's most powerful figures. Giancana will be buried in a family crypt next to his wife who died 21 years ago. And in Queen of Heaven Cemetery, in a field dotted with headstones bearing the names Capone, O'Banion, and Battaglia, Sam Giancana will have no lack of good company. Rich Samuels, News 5.
Sam Giancana was buried today. In the wake of his assassination, 3 of Giancana's daughters and a son-in-law are reported likely to be subpoenaed to testify before a county grand jury investigating the case. Eyewitness newsman Fred Villanueva reports on the funeral.
The wake for Sam Giancana was anything but what one would expect for a noted leader of a crime syndicate. Newsmen and curious onlookers tried to identify well-known mobster figures, but most of the big names in the syndicate stayed away. A great deal of pressure has been placed on those figures because of the shooting, recent grand jury investigations on mob activities, and reported mob links with the CIA. After Giancana's bronze casket was loaded on a hearse, the funeral procession led through Oak Park past Giancana's home. It was there that the mob leader spent his last live moments at a party given for him last Thursday night. It was also there that his caliber bullets into Giancana. This after most of the party guests had left. Giancana was taken to Mother of Heaven Cemetery in Hillside, where a short service was given before the 67-year-old widower was placed in a crypt alongside his wife, dead since 1954. Investigators are now looking for a Chicago area location where hidden crime syndicate records may be placed alongside an enemy list naming persons who may have wanted Giancana dead. That list was to have been made public should he be killed. This is Fred Villanueva, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Don't try to go inside. I didn't. 2 hours later, Giancana's body was put into a hearse for his last ride. A last ride that was routed past his Oak Park home, where on Thursday night he was cut down. Then the Queen of Heaven Cemetery Chapel for the last goodbyes. Outside the chapel, a man identified as the son of Willie the Potatoes Dodano challenged a Channel 9 cameraman, but 2 other men pulled Dodano away before anything happened. After the brief chapel service, an unidentified woman in black was led sobbing into a limousine, and others rushed to the car, put their bodies between the woman and cameras so her picture could not be taken. Other women spitted, cursed at cameras. One yelled, "He's dead now. What do you want from him? You've done enough to him already." The theory is that the mob eliminated Sam Giancana to keep him quiet at future grand jury sessions. The question is now, did Sam take those secrets with him, or did he leave them behind for others to see? For News 9, this is Don Harris at Queen of Heaven Cemetery.